to another episode of James Kern Miniatures. I'm your host, Crazy Crafter. Welcome, gamers, crafters. Hope you enjoy it. Today we're going to be working on these deciduous trees that we've been working on. Let me set up the bench here and I'll show you some of the things that we can do with it. Okay, the first thing you want to get is some wire. This is that florist wire I was showing you in the first video. About 270 feet on them. So far I've made a few trees out of these already, and I still have a bunch of wire left on here. But what I do is I unspool about 60, 70 feet of wire if I can, as long as I can. Depends on how big of a tree you want to make. And then once you think you have enough wire, you should have enough. And you think you don't have enough, get some more. What you want to do next is you want to take your wire. Since mine's already unspooled, it should go pretty quickly for me. You want to figure out the height of your tree. So in this case, I'm shooting for, I would save a little bit extra on the end for a little tagline. I can use that later. I'll show you how. I'm going to go for about maybe, that's pretty tall. A little shorter than that. Maybe about that tall. Yeah, that'll be a good tree. So this one here, I want you to be using a lot of wire on. You just go back and forth like I'm doing here. Try to keep them even if you can. And then you just roll this all the way up. Just back and forth. Put a loop at each end. Back and forth, just like that. You need to do that till you have all your wire wired up like that. I'm going to wire this up and I'll show you what we got. Okay, when you're finished, you should have something looks like this. So let those two little tag ends off. Those are my beginning and end of the wire. But the idea about a wire armature is you want it all one piece. That gives it all its strength. So on the side that I've got my little tag ends on here, pull them all the way. I'm going to even up the bottom loops like so. And I'm determined, since I'm going to make this one a centerpiece, I used a lot of wire. As I'm going to make this some type of a centerpiece, I might make this the one to go onto this rock right here. So you take one side of your tag lines, you go around one direction. See, I'm tightening it there. And then I take the other end of the wire and pull some of these roots out a little longer. So these will be your roots eventually. You go the opposite direction. Like so. And then that way, you make these wires disappear. You know where your roots are going to start. So this is the base of the tree. Twist these guys together. Just like so. Give them a good twist. And then that'll hold your roots in place for you. So they don't move around on you. Now, why we wanted to talk about your armatures. This is the basis for every tree you're pretty much going to make, with the exception of the pine trees, which I'll show you in the next episode. But this one here, you can make any kind of a tree out of it you want. Like if you were using a birch tree, you'd start your branches really low and have lots of them going straight up. But most trees, they follow a similar pattern. So what I do is I determine the height where my first branches are going to start. If I'm having trouble, I've always got Sir's scale to help. So maybe just over his head, maybe up in here somewhere. That's where I want to stop ending my twisting of the wire. So you take one strand down like that at a time, and you work your way up the trunk like so. That gives you your trunk. If you want a little low dead branch, you can twist this guy out a little later. The little branch will come off there. Just a little tiny one. Okay. Then you grab another one. Continue this process. I'm going to use two at a time. I'll do. Continue that whole process till you get it to the height you like. All you're basically trying to do is establish the height of the trunk up to the first branch. You want to bury these if you want to bury these. Put them in the wire like that. Grab yourself another strand, or 2, or 3, or 5, doesn't matter. Once it's buried in there, you just wrap it around it again until that thing goes away. So you get to the height you want. So that'll make a pretty solid trunk. By the time we get the roots on there and on, you should sort of scale. Yeah, it's going to be a good sized tree. Now here's where you want to start spreading out your leaders, your branches. Just kind of pull it apart like I'm doing here. What do we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's probably good for a small branch, but these are the lower branches. Make them a little thicker. That's my first branch there. Going that way. Might make a second one here. Just pull them out like so. This one here I might have come up a little bit higher. So always take one, use it for a tag. That'll hold it in place for you while you twist the wires. I'm going to save that one because I'm going to probably use it again. So I've got 2 branches already. You want to alternate your directions. So now, since we got that new one there, I can start my next branch here. I'm going to do about 4 or so wires, 5 maybe. That's good. See how it's going out in a different direction. Now, pull another branch out. Like so. See, we got that leader wire going all the way up. Remember that little tag line we had? I'm going to use that again. I want this up a little higher. There we go. So that branch is up a little higher. Now we got our main leader on the top. Let's split this in 2. Let's split them in the opposite directions. So, if I want these a little taller, I can simply twist them together. So now you got branches at varying heights, going in various directions. Okay? Easy enough, right? Now we start our branches by grabbing it low. Same. I'm going out about 1 inch or 2. Now you can split it up into smaller branches after you do that. Another little trick too. Showed you in the first one, but this one is a great trick. I'll start a little branch here. See how I'm holding that? Pinching both sides, twisting it just with my hands. If you were using a heavier gauge wire, you would hold one side with a pair of pliers. But here's the little trick I was going to show you. Get these branches out of my way so you can see what I'm doing. See how I make a loop? I push the center in towards the branch. And then you twist one side and then the other. Just like I showed you in the first video. And this way, you can start to spread this thing out to multiple branches. By taking these 2. I'm going to go like that. We'll clip those off at the end so you see just 2 small branches. I like to leave them on so they don't catch on everything and poke you up. If you're going to be using a lot of flocking, sometimes I actually leave these loops on because it gives me more glue surface. There's one here. I'll split it up and make 2 branches out of that too. So I took that one little piece of wire off that one little branch we just started. I've already got it looking like a tree. Like, just like so. You twist that on there like that. You start up, you just want to go 1 branch at a time. So look at that. You got a branch already going. See? Now you do the same. There's one here. Got 3 on this one, great. So hold it right there. Pinching it where my branch stop. I'm going to start spreading out. And that's where I twist from. Till the wire is all twisted. Same process. Split these apart. These two I'll leave together. Go a little longer with them. Same concept. Pinching it to there. And twisting it where I want my branch to start spreading out. So that'll spread out. This one here, I'm going to split in 2 right down here. They don't have to be equal sizes too. You can change the variations on them. But by twisting these together, got another little spindly branch. Now I'm out of my favorite flocking, which is woodland scenics. You know, the clump foliage, foliage clusters, things like that. Those are great because they are foam. And they don't dry out like moss and things like that will, but you can use that stuff. But once you add the glue to the flocking at the end, like I say, it makes them bulletproof like I showed you a little bit ago. So one branch at a time. You're working your way up. See? Got one branch done. Yep, and then you just want to spread them out, make them spread out a little more. Same trick. Make that little loop. Get it where you can see it here. Make a little loop. Pinch it together in the middle. Just like that. And then you twist these together. You're going to do this until you got all your branches twisted up all the way up. Just like that. So I'll set this one aside and I'll show you. See those little tricks I showed you with the loop. That is very important. But this is the basis for every tree you're going to make. You can just change the colors of the flocking, how the branches grow, and make any kind of tree you want. Fir tree, maple tree, oak tree, the mighty oak. So you just twist those suckers all out like that till your branches are done. And then you move on to the roots. And you do the same thing to the roots. Just the same thing. A lot of roots on this one. That's going to be for this big tree. It's going to go on here. So why don't I splat that on there? That's going to be a nice centerpiece. Okay. So we've got our wire. Don't forget, you're also going to need your hot glue gun. That is very important in making these armatures. When you're done, here's a couple I've already finished off earlier. You can end up with pretty creative trees. See, here we go. Here's your armature. See how the roots? Right, you should end up with something like that. Nice good spread on the branches. Good shape there. See? Good cover. A lot of character in that one. That's going to be fun. And then here's another one here. Give it some interest. You know, you can bend these things all around however you want. It's all one piece, too. So it won't break as easy. It'll bend, it'll flex. Okay. Get set for the next step, and I'll show you that one. Okay, now once you're happy with the shape of your tree, got everything twisted up, everything on the roots are in there. So then, got a nice look all the way around. Good spread of branches, alternating heights, sizes. Next step, get a pair of clippers. Don't use your good side cutters for that. Use your buddies, they'll get pissed off. Oh, this is wire, so it could dull up your side cutters. You just want to cut these loops off. All the loops, all the way around. See how that, split that up. That's why I leave those on. It's like a key. It makes it easier to twist. Once you have them all clipped off, then you want to coat this whole thing in hot glue. Don't have to be fancy. You cover the whole thing. Make sure all the metal is covered in hot glue. See how the branches now look? That's only one part of one branch, so a lot of loops to cut off. Oh, look at all the roots, all the branches, so that'll take a minute. So I got a few, I'll cut them all up. what I like to do is make a ton of these armatures in one go. And I just sit down and go crazy with the hot glue gun in one go. And then sometimes I even save these little bits here that I clip off right here, these little guys. They make good little handles for things if you want to put them on there. Okay, let me show you the next step after we get this all these little loops cut. Okay, once you have everything cut, as you see, I cut all them little loops off. Don't forget the roots. Should have something that looks like this. You want a good spread, happy the way you want it. We move on to the next stage. So what I'm going to do, since it's one of my projects and I got to do a tree anyway, I have another tree here, another wire armature I did, as you can see, and I pre-built the base, and I just kind of bent the roots to fit where I want it to go. So it's going to be there. It's going to look nice. And this is what we do next. Is you got to cover all of the wire with hot glue. With the starting with the tips of each branch. You can move these ones out of your way because they'll get awkward trying to get it. You can rebend them later as you go. But start with the tips. Spread them out. Give yourself a little bit of room to work. Starting with the tips, you just kind of give the whole thing a coat of hot glue. Starting with the tips going down, and you follow each branch all the way down. Don't forget to do the bottoms. As you see, you got to do the bottom too. And that hot glue is going to cover up the ends of those little branches so you don't poke your finger when you grab them. You know, that's why I leave the loops on when I'm bending it all up. You coat all, you want to go all the way down. Obviously, every branch. It's very time consuming, but it's worth it. You don't have to be fancy. Just glob it on, make sure all the wire is covered. You follow it all the way down. You know, give it a good coat of hot glue. Trying to get too blobby. It'll save you some grief in the next step. I'll show you a little bit later. I know that I'd be putting the texture on. But you want to get all this glue covering up the all the wire all the way around. When you get done, you'll have the whole thing covered, and you'll move on to texturing. So yeah, it's a lot easier to do the texturing after the wire cools. Here's a tree I've already finished, but since it's cool, I can see now a little bit better to do the texture. We're going to run the texture using the side. See, get it up to where you can see it. Just the edge of your glue, hot glue gun. You can use this as a tool. I follow all the grains all the way down, you know, back and forth. It's just slow enough to melt it, but not enough to melt it a lot. You know, just enough to put some texture in there. I follow the roots all the way down the tree. But just start with the tips, makes it a lot easier. And to clean them all up at the end and make them look a little bit neater, you can just take a lighter, kind of just heat up the tips. If you see any wisps you missed, just give it a little flash, a little fire. But you'll end up something like this. Here's one I sculpted to fit this rock. Nice and heavy, a lot of weight. A lot of weight to it. Hard to see right now, but once it's painted, it'll look really super good. And you don't have to flock it. If you want bare trees, the more little branches you get, the better. Looks like a real tree when you're done. You get the light on it just right, so you can see how I put the little lines in the glue to give it the texture. When you get to the base of these trees, when you're adding your hot glue, you want them thicker and thicker. Wait till it cools and then add another bead. Follow it down roots, like so. You get a more realistic look. And when you're happy with it, don't forget you can still bend them around. But it's a lot more tough, a lot more solid. Safe to be poked. It's being poked on them a little bit better anyway. And then, yeah, primer that sucker black or whatever. Do a dark brown, whatever color tree you want to do. Dark brown I start with. Give it a layer, and then I kind of hit it with a light layer, almost a dry brush, but not a dry brush, just to pick out all the texture details on that. And when you're finished, if I can grab one here, you'll have what I showed you before at the very beginning of the video. You see how there's just enough texture to make it look good. So let's work on that. I'll finish up a few of these things. Next time I'll show you how to paint them. And then, yeah, when I have some flock ordered. So what I'll do is I'll show you how to flock, show you how to paint, show you how to flock them, show you how to make them bulletproof for a tabletop. Not in the next episode. That one will be pine trees, fir trees, all the conifers. So this is the deciduous. Remember, everything starts with the armature. Everything starts just the way I showed you, just as in the first video, as in the second video. It's all about how you twist up the wires. Once you get those basics down, you can do a lot of different trees, different scales. You can use less wire, smaller amounts, big tiny trees, bushes. You can use heavier gauge wires, make huge trees. Like I said, the floor wire works really darn good. And let's see, your scale here will show you what I mean. Put them down here. See, that is a proper sized tree. Doesn't it look cool? All right. Okay. Yeah, my friends, just very easy. Just remember those basic principles with the wire. You'll be needing those in the next episode. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos, so I do a lot of different crafts. If you would, leave a comment down in the comments below. Let me know if there's something you'd like me to work on, show you what I'm going to be working on. I'll be doing some painting videos up and coming. I got some builds coming up for bolt action. That should be pretty interesting. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, please. Help me grow the channel. Until next time, I'll see you. James Curran Miniatures and Crafts.